Hello everybody, it's Cap Corgi. I hope you guys are having a great night today. I wanted to talk about something pretty special, something pretty interesting. A little known game called Subnautica 2 has just come out on Steam. And it's a pretty crazy story. I want to talk about the road to Subnautica 2. Basically, how did Subnautica 2 come out? Because it is full of all kinds of litigation, all kinds of fights between the original developers, Unknown Worlds Entertainment, and the publisher, Krafton, and it's a bit of a journey. So we're celebrating, Subnautica's 2's release today, released earlier today, and apparently it's a massive success. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the wild road to it getting released, because we could have had a world where Subnautica 2 never released. In fact, that was looking pretty likely some months ago. But there was a massive lawsuit all the way back in, early 2026. March is when it was decided. And it was started all the way back in, May of 2025. And we're going to go through the entire story right here, right now. I think you guys are going to enjoy this. So we're starting off our story here with Subnautica 1. It came out all the way around 8 years ago, and overwhelmingly positive. It is one of the original of that era, as in before COVID, indie darlings. A game that, had 3-4 main developers, and they formed a team where they just made this amazing game, Subnautica, a survival crafting game that takes place in a very unique landscape, underwater completely. Really hit those, like, sci-fi vibes, but also extremely good, narrative and lore as well, with a very unique system in place for researching, for fighting off monsters, and with this like scientific bent, with everything being relatively possible in terms of you go down far enough down Mariana's Trench, you might run into weird little monsters, fish and octopi and sharks and this and that, and how everything is a threat, and you have to manage oxygen and stuff. Very unique game, and honestly, if you've not played it, I would highly recommend it. I've played this. An amazing survival crafting game that really deserves every single one of its 96% positive Steam rating. This game made millions and millions and millions of dollars. On sale right now for $8, obviously, but even now, regular price is $30. I can't remember what the regular price was when it first came out, but I think it was at least, I'm assuming it was like $40 or so. Maybe it's gone down since then. I have no idea. But even if it made if it was being sold at $30, it was still being it was still making millions and millions and millions of dollars for the very, very relatively small indie team. And as soon as the game came out, and as soon as the DLC came out, which was called Below Zero, I forgot the name. Whatever it was, it takes place in the colder ocean. I can't remember the name of the actual update. But as soon as that came out, people were asking, when are we getting Subnautica 2? And that is what happened until they finally decided to start really developing and honing in on Subnautica 2. Then what was interesting was that they had an offer of buyout. You see, Subnautica 1 was such a powerful and really, really just like huge success story. A lot of companies wanted to get in on it. A lot of big publishing companies, they said, let me help you publish your game. We will fund your development for Subnautica 2. And with your creation of an already established game, and the possibility of our involvement for funding it and everything, we can really put Subnautica 2 to the next level. A lot of times when a smaller game that's an indie game is made and then added to another publishing company, this is kind of the conversation that happens. We've seen this with many other indie games, so this is not really a unique situation to Subnautica. However, what happens afterwards is So Krafton ended up being the lead because they decided, we're gonna give, yeah, as Michael Corleone says, an offer they cannot refuse to the makers of Subnautica. They essentially offered what amounts to not only buying the company, not only funding the development of Subnautica 2, they agreed. Krafton agreed to a massive, unheard of, really, $250 million earn-out bonus for the original founders and shareholders if Subnautica 2, as soon as it comes out, hits certain revenue targets. So if it sold a certain number of copies, made a certain amount of profit, and so on and so forth, and came out at a certain time, then the original founders would get $250 million. This is a pretty crazy deal. We've heard of, like, profit incentives. We've heard of, like, selling incentives and so on. Those things are pretty common. But something to this level was a little out of the ordinary. Regardless, of course, the makers of Subnautica said, absolutely. And they were already on their way to developing Subnautica 2 at that point. They had already started years and years prior. So they have been, updating Subnautica 1, starting to work on Subnautica 2, so on and so forth, until that happened. Now, obviously this was a very, very one-sided deal, but it kind of got a little bit weird because it was actually an earn-out with the amount of money that Krafton would pay Unknown Worlds per dollar earned of revenue. And that would go up to $250 million. So that's kind of how it worked. By the way, for anyone who doesn't know, I work in business. This is my background as well. So when I'm not doing awesome YouTube making and stuff, I do have a day job where I work in business. So I have a little bit of a background when it comes to business style stuff. That's why I found this story fascinating and why I wanted to really share with you this wild road to the development of Subnautica 2. Anyways, going beyond all that, even if this happened, Subnautica 2 was in such a position with the deal that was offered that Krafton apparently stood to lose $145 million on the deal, because of how much money they spent to buy the company, as well as this $250 million little incentive deal that they had, with the projected profits that would be made on Subnautica 2. Now, of course, this is all projection. This is all bullshit. This is all, like, the type of financing deals that happen in back rooms and boardrooms all the time. Fast forward to 2025. Subnautica 2 was actually originally supposed to launch in 2025. A lot of people don't realize this, unless you have been following the game for a good bit of time. Now, the problem was that Subnautica 2 was very ready to go by the middle of 2025. By, I think originally they were set to be launched on, I think, like September of 2025, or even like July and August of September 2025. The Krafton CEO, Chung-Han Kim, I might be butchering the name, I do apologize. It's a Korean name. He decided that, he doesn't want to pay the $250 million incentive. So he decided that he needs to figure out how to sabotage the deal. Krafton, without anyone else's knowledge, and we saw this happen last year, we didn't really know what the entire cause was. We didn't really know what the story was until, relatively recently with the lawsuit that I mentioned. By the way, that lawsuit will absolutely be linked in the description below. So if you want to read all 92 pages, any or all, feel free to check and feel free to look at that. It's a very easy to download PDF. Very long, very dry, very lawyerific. A lot of legalese in it. But definitely, if you do want to watch, read it and check over my work and get some more detail. Absolutely, I more than encourage that always. I always give you the full information, but I always encourage, you finding out the actual details for yourself, if and how and when you want. Regardless, the Krafton CEO, Chung-Han Kim, decided to suddenly fire Ted Gill and co-founders Charlie Cleveland and Max McGuire in order to essentially sabotage the deal. Wild move. We didn't really know what the cause was at the time or anything. All we knew was that, the founders and CEOs of Unknown Worlds Entertainment just suddenly lost their freaking jobs, and Subnautica 2's future was suddenly in doubt. Now, not only did that happen, all of the founders and CEOs were completely replaced by absolute outsiders, and the game was delayed from 2025 to 2026. They gave a reason called playtest feedback. They said that, in playtest, Subnautica 2 was just not good enough, and, they were trying to cite, like, different issues with it and stuff in various, like, insider information and various media outlet information given to them and so on, saying that, essentially not our fault. The CEOs fucked up. The founders of the game, they fucked up something. And essentially, it's not Krafton's fault that this happened. However, the ex-leaders, the names that I mentioned, Ted Gill, Charlie Cleveland, Max McGuire, they sued immediately. They claimed that Krafton deliberately tanked the 2025 launch, and they did it not only killing the game, but also were doing it to screw them out of the $250 million bonus that they were being offered, the deal that I mentioned. Krafton, of course, countersued, and we had the entire craziness happen. They not only countersued, they said that the founders abandoned the project, tried to make up like this cockamamie story about each one of the developers working on like their own projects and everything like that. Like they wouldn't have the game ready in time anyways. So, we're firing them because they're not performing, as opposed to what the truth was, what ended up the truth being. And also, not only that, they tried to say that the founders were stealing assets as well, of course. So it was a wild accusation, but we had to let it play out in the courts. So, there's a saying in legalese. There's a saying when anything major like this happens, especially in the gaming world with, the multitude of gaming lawsuits that have happened over the years. Everything comes out in discovery. No secrets are held during discovery. Discovery will find everything. You'll have to put in the court documents on both sides. The defendant and the prosecutor, they're just going to go ham, and we're going to figure out whatever the truth is. I've covered on this channel, and if you guys would like, I will link it in the description below as well, the entire lawsuit debacle with Ashes of Creation, a popular MMO, or at least the story of it is popular, where, there's an entire litigation process going on as well. And we're going through that discovery process now. Regardless, we have found out in the discovery and the court documents, again, you can read all these documents in the 92 pages, 90 plus pages of the entire court litigation process. I combed through it all. Wild read, by the way. Wild read. But the CEO of Krafton decided, and he was panicking. He was like, I don't want to pay $250 million. And this is found out in the court documents, by the way. This is all fully open now. Krafton CEO Shanghan Kim decided that it was a bad deal, which frankly it was. It was a bad deal, but Krafton never should have made the deal for the promised amount if they weren't comfortable with it in the first place. He apparently went to ChatGPT, as in AI, the AI LLM, ChatGPT, and said, how do I break this deal? Give me the entire breakdown of how I can get out of this deal. I am not even kidding. He worded it differently, but that is the essential salient point of, he was using ChatGPT to break the deal. ChatGPT gave him a breakdown called Project X, very ominous, of how to get out of the deal. But even ChatGPT, in its credit, correctly informed him that it would trigger counter lawsuits. It would trigger reputational damage. It would be a very risky proposition anyways. But, the CEO said, keep going and make me the entire corporate takeover playbook. Let's do it. He did it. Used the AI plan to fire the leadership in the exact way that we have seen. Seized control of the studio. And the judge found out and called it out in the documents exactly for what it was. Then Krafton basically was found by the courts in March of 2026. We're fast forwarding from the initial court documents all the way to what happens at the very end now. Delaware Chancery Court ruled that Krafton breached their contract and fired key employees without cause, which is, basically Krafton lied about all of the bullshit that they were saying, and no real cause for the firings was found, and illegally grabbed corporate and operational control using ChatGPT. The judge at the end finally ordered that Ted Gill be reinstated as CEO over at Unknown Worlds Entertainment, and that he and the other founders had full authority over Subnautica 2's early access launch. Ordered that Krafton was barred from interfering in any way, shape, or form, and extended the $250 million bonus buyout, the clock for it, because that was supposed to end in 2025. That's why the Krafton CEO did this entire debacle. He extended it to 2026, September 2026. Obviously, this launched in May of 2026. So Ted Gill and the other co-CEOs and founders of Unknown Worlds Entertainment are way ahead of the curve. And if this game continues selling like hotcakes, they're going to get their $250 million buyout. And frankly, they should. So not only that, if you look at Subnautica 2's Steam, you will see that Krafton has been removed from being the publisher of the game, period. They're not even on the Steam page at all. It was actually removed after the lawsuit happened. This has been how the Steam page has looked. I've been following it and wishlisted it for a long time. I've been looking for this game like crazy for years. So I noticed this, but this happened all the way back in April of 2026, so about a month ago. So March 2026 is when the lawsuit ended. April 2026 is when the publisher was changed on Steam, and now as of yesterday, May 14th, 2026, the game is launched and is doing extremely well, 92% positive. I love to see this. Now, the last thing is that the full earnout and damages that has been ordered by the court, that's still pending. They're trying to see how much money this game makes and how many people play it, how many people buy it, what the quality is of the game and stuff, before they figure out that segment of it, because that's the second phase of the lawsuit. That's the second section of it. But this is going to be a wild story. This already has been a wild story. I have no idea why they did this. I have no idea to this day why Krafton decided to go this hard. But, they bought the studio. They realized that the deal was a financial nightmare. I don't know which financial head at Krafton decided to do this in the first place. The CEO panicked, talked to ChatGPT, decided that he's going to use an LLM to write his lawsuit and in his corporate takeover plan. He tried to screw the devs with this AI-generated coup and got absolutely fucking cooked in court. I have no idea if I could have written a better script for what would happen with indie darling Subnautica than this. This is way better than anything someone could have written. They say the truth is stranger than fiction. This is absolutely freaking true, because you can do this. You can see that this is a wild situation that has gone through many twists and turns, and especially using ChatGPT of all things. It is just a little bit of a wild thing, and the judge seeing it, the judge's comments, it is absolutely wild. The creators, thankfully, happy ending. They got their company back, control of their game, and they have a longer shot at the bonus, and it seems likely. David versus Goliath right here, and in this case, I decided to open up the SteamDB. In this case, it looks really good for the original developers of Subnautica, for Unknown Worlds Entertainment, because they are hitting 467,000 players concurrently at peak, and this is just Steam. Let me check. Did Subnautica 2 release on console? Because if it is, then that number is way higher. Okay, great. So I wasn't sure about this. It is available on Xbox Series X and S, and also Game Pass. So those are two extra segments of population that can and are playing Subnautica 2. Obviously, Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, you can't really see their numbers, but you can assume that it's going to be hundreds of thousands each, and the number, and that's concurrently, and the numbers mean like when a game is at a peak of 467,000 concurrent, that means that it is millions of players, millions of people have bought the game, millions. So this is just day one. We are not at the weekend yet. This number is going to go up. And we're going to see a wild turnout for Subnautica. And honestly, I love it. I love it. But yes, I just wanted to talk about it. What did you guys think of Subnautica 2's wild road to release? I really wanted to share this with you guys, with my background in business, with my background playing survival horror games. This could be considered a horror game. I have no thalassophobia, so I never really found it scary. But if you don't like monsters, you don't like oceans and stuff, you're gonna find this scary. I have friends that have thalassophobia, which is fear of open water, and they cannot play this game. But not due to lack of quality. It's just it takes place in their great fear. I really think that this is one of the big indie stories of this year. We have just started to hear about the success of Subnautica 2, and I wanted to celebrate the success of Subnautica 2, the launch of Subnautica 2. With the wild story of how it got to this point. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you guys like breakdowns of this type, if you guys like someone who champions indie games and talks about them, gives reviews, previews, trailers, and so on and so forth, and talks about the games industry when they do good, bad, and ugly, and this is pretty bad and ugly, even though it ended up in a big W. Definitely give this video a like, a comment, share it with your friends, give this channel a sub. And definitely check out more videos. I do try to cover as much gaming news as I possibly can, and I try to cover as many indie games as I possibly can. So this is right in my wheelhouse, man. I love Subnautica 1. I love the developers of this game. Like, they were tapping into something special. I'm extremely excited to play 2. This game is tapping into something special as well. You can tell with all the updates. And I really hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much, and let me know what you thought is the most wildest part of Subnautica 2's release. And if you have played Subnautica 1, and even if you haven't played 2 yet, let me know your favorite part of 1 and what you're most looking forward to in Subnautica 2. Catch you guys in the next video.